Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Third Space Podcast, episode number 63, Power Hunters. I really could not think of a good title for this one. I'm sure as soon as I finish recording this, I'll think of a nice pun, but just could not do it this time. So for that, I apologize. In any event, in this episode, Daniel and I start off with Superpowers and Drawbacks, a level 2 superpower and drawback. It's been a little while since we did one. It's been a little while since we did an episode, actually. We were both doing some traveling. But we start off with that, and then we launch into a discussion on hunting, a thing that neither Daniel nor I are very experienced with, other than from our childhood. So we talk about the cultural aspects of hunting, the moral aspects of hunting, some other goofy things too. It's an interesting little discussion, so I hope you enjoy it.
Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast.
Hello. Nah.
We just said hello at the same time, and
Jinx.
Yeah, you owe me a
Owe me a soda. I think we've
Why
done.
did that
I think,
become the Jinx thing?
I think we've done this exact opening before.
Yeah, we're just repeating, see if any. It's a callback.
Right. It's like a meta Jinx kind of thing.
But why soda? Why of a Jinx? And then you count the 10 as some of the rules, right? I guess there's house rules for Jinx, but you would
Probably
race to count the 10 and then
Probably because
and then
it's
you
when
owe me a
you're
soda.
it's when you're a kid, and what do you value when you're a kid? Soda. And what can you afford? Well, a can of Coke or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You're right. It fits with the childhood whimsical nature of it all. I like it.
That's probably why. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I just put my tags on my truck, and I feel like school's around the corner, and I have lots of thoughts, and I'm doing okay.
All right. Well, I don't care about any of that. I think we should.
I figured.
I think we should.
It's kind of struck by the question. Really, Bennett? How am I doing?
Just some small
It felt
talk.
so ham-fisted. It didn't feel right, did it? It was just Bennett?
I'm a big fan of the small
What do you
talk.
want me to say?
I'm a big fan of the small talk. We need some social lubricant to get things going a little bit. I'm a big fan of all that kind of
And
stuff.
my problem was and so I told you some things, and like, when do I stop? Like, he doesn't care about any of this.
As soon as
Okay.
possible. It's been a long time since we've done Superpowers and Drawbacks, so I have a level 2 Superpowers and Drawbacks
excellent.
for us to jump into, and let's jump in. Let's see what you
I'm
think.
hungry for a 2. That's right.
Hungry.
You know what I do? You know what I don't tell you that I do? I actually write down the names of them, so because I can't remember. 4 things is too much to ask.
That's true.
So
It is a lot to remember.
Jotting them down is not a bad idea.
All right, well, I'm glad you're hungry for it, because hungry is relevant to the first potential superpower, which is called Navel Grazer.
Naval grazer. I can't find a pencil. I'm annoyed. I'm just gonna go with it. Naval grazer.
Navel Grazer. So this superpower, were you to choose it, would allow you to do, by doing kind of a stomach clenching belly dance sort of maneuver, like crunching your abs and kind of squeezing around a little bit, while envisioning in your mind's eye a certain kind of candy. You can slowly and painlessly squeeze that candy out of your belly button.
Any candy.
Any candy. Now, the size of the candy is limited by your body fat percentage. So if you're really fat, then you basically have no limits. You can get king-sized Hershey's bars, the big Reese's
I was gonna ask
cups.
a candy extended to chocolate.
Yeah,
So yeah, we're
it does.
talking. Okay.
If you're just kind of average, then you can manage a Snickers bar. And if you're really fit, then you might be at like the single Kit Kat level.
And the calories in this candy are whatever they are in real life. The consequences of consuming them are the same as they are in real life.
Yes. So this superpower does break the laws of physics a little bit. It's a truly indistinguishable candy result. So if you were to take your navel grazer Snickers and put it up next to one that you got from the store, it would be chemically, calorically identical. Everything would be exactly the same.
So one of the benefits, you can't just eat them all day and not have, you would be like, you'd have a sugar issue. Like, yeah, you would,
right, yeah,
ironically could produce more of them, bigger ones, but you'd feel bad and die earlier.
Right, yeah, so it does break the laws of physics, and we don't have to think about the paradoxes caused by it. Now doing this crunching effort does burn more calories than just doing nothing. So it does, but it's not the full amount of calories in the candy bar. So if you were to do that infinite loop thing of squeezing out a Snickers bar and then eating it, and squeezing it out and eating it, you would get fatter.
Yeah. I was trying to actually, you said slowly but surely, or you said some phrase like that, you can do it.
Slowly
so
and painlessly.
You're not starting a candy store based on this.
No, it's not instantaneous. No. And
I'm curious how long, and how much effort am I really, basically it's not like, oh, I just want to grab for a Twix bar, this is happening. It's like, I got to think for a second, I have to work a little bit.
It's not that strenuous. Like, you picture it in your mind's eye. It's pretty easy to picture.
Like giving
Twix
birth
bar
out of a belly button.
It is like,
I'm picturing a little push, I'm like really rocking and rolling.
Yeah, you're going, and you're clenching, right, and it's slowly coming. Now you got an inch of the Twix bar out. Another inch comes out, and then you can kind of grab it and kind of pull it a little bit. All right, now you got your Twix bar.
It's covered in a mucusy
No. It's totally clean, and
it's
sanitary.
Wrapped, though.
Yeah, totally sanitary.
I want it to be wrapped too.
Okay.
Crinkle.
Granted.
Yeah. Okay. So I could share it with someone. They'd be more likely to take a wrapped, navel Twix bar than they would just a chocolate stick coming out of my belly button.
Yeah, probably.
That visual's disgusting.
It is pretty disgusting.
Little belly button, hit the hair around it. It's just great, gently great. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So I understand.
Yeah, you got that one, navel grazer.
Yeah.
All right. Now you have to weigh that against the slightly less exciting one called simply air conditioned. Now for this one, you can set the temperature of a 1 centimeter thick layer of air that surrounds your skin, which means you can always have your surroundings at your preferred temperature, regardless of whatever the temperature is, outside of that layer of air.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any effect on conduction. So if you sit on something really hot or really cold, or you're walking across a hot parking lot or something, it's not going to affect where you're touching something hot. But for convection, I guess, if you're just walking around outside, you've got this perfectly air-conditioned envelope around your body.
So if it's freezing outside, and I'm walking outside, I can be perfectly comfortable.
Yes.
Well, you said it's air conditioning. You've been conditioned.
You can set it to whatever temperature you want. So yeah.
But if even if I were naked, I'm perfectly comfortable, 73 degrees. But I dive into the powdery snow, and then that snow is going to have a cold effect on my body, and be like, woo. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Swimming, water is all the same. Like cold water's cold. And
cold water's cold. It's going to be directly touching your skin, so it's not going to have an effect. But in the air, if it rains,
it's obviously just me, no partners. Obviously
no partners. Yeah, just you.
Rain. I'm getting wet. It's not visible either, right?
No,
it's just no one would know. I'm just perfectly comfortable. I could wear whatever outfit I wanted and be legitimately very comfortable. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's really appealing. And it's called what again?
Air conditioned.
Okay.
Not very creative.
Yeah.
Just gonna admit that one right up front. Not very creative on that one. All right. So, but in order to choose one of those two superpowers, you have to take a drawback, and you have two choices. The first of which is called Murder Watch.
I'm intrigued. I almost want to guess what they are, but tell me. Just tell me.
So for this one, a group of crows follows you around at all times for the rest of your life, and they just watch you. They'll try to get as close as they can to you, and they have an uncanny ability to show up where it seems like they should be unable to reach, like inside your home, or maybe perching on the back seat of your vehicle or something like that. But they don't attack you or otherwise bother you. They're just kind of ever present, watching you.
How many? Can you give me a ballpark? I know a murder
It
is
varies.
a group, but
It varies.
Okay.
Always more than one. But it's not going to be. It's going to depend on the circumstances. If you're out in the open, it could be 100. If you're out hiking out in the wilderness, they could be spread all around some trees and stuff. But if you're in the classroom, it might be 3 or 4 crows perched on the windowsill, watching.
Right. But
watching your lesson.
occasionally they'd be inside, and I have no idea how they got there. But just not every time. It's not like I'm walking into my bedroom, turning on the light, and there's a crow on my bed. There's several of them.
No, that doesn't happen. That might happen, every few months, where it's like, what? How did you get in here? Did it? Did it fly
They're
in?
just really deliberate.
Oh, they're determined.
And I have to be.
They're determined.
I have to be a little negligent for it to happen too. Like I left the door open
Yes.
when I was so like I would, in some ways I could distance myself, but wherever that weak spot is, they're going to be trying to take advantage of it.
They're not.
I think I understand.
They're not magical crows, but they're just very determined to watch you forever.
Yeah, and they're not especially.
They're not malicious.
What is it? What is a raven? Do they make noises?
Crows? They caw.
Yeah.
Sound like that.
That's
exactly.
And
I just played that. I played that clip from like a zoo website.
From like a poem called "The Raven." So man, that raven sounds related to you. It's okay. And that's called Murder Watch.
Murder Watch.
I would not have guessed what that was at all.
All right. Well, then the last one, the second drawback, is called worst.
Is it called Murder Watch as well? And where you have to wear this wristband that occasionally tells you someone's going to die, and you just have to know it?
Oh, that's a good drawback. I'm writing that down.
Called Murder Watch.
I should just do one where all the names of the superpowers and drawbacks are the same.
Challenge, yeah. They're all 4 the same title. Please, that's a good creative challenge.
No. The last one is called Worst Wingman. And for this one, it's very simple. Anyone in your company is perceived by others as 2 points out of 10 less attractive than they actually are. So it's kind of like an ugly aura.
Yeah.
Not for you, but for anyone with you.
Interesting. And so single guys wanting to go out to bars obviously would not be interested. Do they know this? Could I tell them, or like, are they aware of this somehow?
The other people around you?
Yeah.
I mean, not directly. They might infer it that they're getting less attention when they're with you. Yeah, they're getting treated differently.
If I'm hanging out with like a group this deep, very like 4 of us go to see a movie together, or
all of them are affected.
The 3 are affected. Okay.
Right. Yeah, if you're in a large house party and you wouldn't say that everyone there is in your company necessarily, then they wouldn't
be my gang
included.
at the party. Everyone has their group, and it would be that group, even if they're like off in another room dancing. They're like, we showed up together, and that they're linked to me for that evening or while we're at
some
the
period
event.
of time. Yeah.
Some reasonable.
Some kind of connection between you and
doesn't affect
them.
me that much.
Well,
that's why.
It doesn't. It doesn't affect you that much. So yeah, I thought the dynamics of it were kind of interesting. There could be a way in which this is a plus for you, right? Because it makes you stand out more. By tearing those around you down. So it could be considered that way.
There's some truth to that.
And of course, you could make the argument that there are many circumstances in which the attractiveness is totally irrelevant, and so this would be kind of a moot drawback. You could make
exactly.
You could make that statement.
I would say that that's nearly like the drawback is minimal because people aren't walking up and going, "You're ugly." They just, I mean, it's not like I'm just thinking of general scenarios like going to see a movie, going to a restaurant, going even just hanging out in general. Like how often are you receiving direct feedback on your like attractiveness? And if you were 2 points less, like it would suck if you were 2 points less attractive. Yes, for self-esteem issues and for like probably some other things, but it's just like, oh, while you're with me, and like, so I find this one to be, even if it were just me occasionally with friends or something, that like, yeah, I can, but it's less interesting, you know, I'm married, so like, I like the way you've positioned it towards someone else. And what's it called again?
Worst wingman.
Worst wingman. Ugly aura.
Ugly aura, yeah.
Okay, I've got my 4.
So think about
Nate.
Think about this as well. Or do you want to walk through them and see what you're thinking?
I just thought instead of like, we talk a lot about them as you relay them, so I'm tempted to just sort of give you my knee jerk and then unpack it.
All right, yeah. Give me your thoughts, and I'll try to convince you otherwise.
Okay, fair enough. I think I want air conditioned and ugly wingman or worst wingman. Yeah. Because candy bars and stuff. I mean, look, I really like Reese's peanut butter cup, but like I'm in a stage in my life where I don't want the temptation, and so even just having access a lot has some inherent drawback. Like I would just eat more of that, and that would be bad for my health holistically. So like just avoiding that temptation. I really like the air condition. It's simple. It's not as like provocative as the discussion around giving birth to a candy bar, or some Swedish fish or something like that. And we didn't talk much about the size thing and like how much would I be able to produce, because I'm 6'3" and technically thin based on my weight. Like, but anyway, I don't know what could I produce like a small thing of Sour Patch Kids, you know, like I don't know.
Sure, yeah, one at a time.
But wrapped, individually wrapped.
Right, or maybe some like Reese's mini, not the minis, but well, what they got like 3 sizes now.
You're saying it's not the size of the belly button though, or are you kind of envisioning that way? Someone really
no,
fat
it's not the size of the belly
button.
No, it's not the size of the belly button.
Okay.
That determines it. It's just body fat percentage.
But ultimately, you're gonna have a hard time convincing me that I need that, because part of me is like, that would be trouble. I like it, but that's precisely why.
Well, let me
it's
tell
trouble.
you. Look, listen. This is a money-making opportunity. You can squeeze out these candy bars and sell them. You can give them to your students as rewards, and you need that leverage, because in this day and age of teachers are using food to win over their students, and so this is an edge you can't afford to lose.
Then a question for you: what about obscure candy bars that are still in production, and what about formerly in production candy bars?
If you can envision it, then you can birth it.
Okay, so someone shows me, like this old man goes, I haven't had a
Toblerone
since 1940, and
and then you could make it. You can do that.
And he shows me pictures, and I know what it is, and I'm like, oh, and I can make it. And he's willing to pay a premium price.
Maybe you have to have tasted it yourself, because otherwise, how would you? How would this even work? How would your body squeeze out a candy bar from your belly button?
How else on a technical aspect would this work?
Yeah.
No, but I agree with that. Okay. So my dad, who loves Zero, they're called Zero bars, I think, the white fudge covering or white chocolate covering, I'm not sure, but like, and it's pretty rare. You can find them in gas stations occasionally, but it just seemed to never be there. So I could absolutely do that, because I've had one before, and it's rare and it's still in production. But even if I like, maybe there's a candy bar like a whatchamacallit or a limited run, something or other, and I can produce those.
You can produce those, and like this is a food. We can't live without food, and so this is also a safety thing. If you're ever in a situation where you're without food, then this could save your life. It could save multiple people's lives, actually.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, having food on hand at all times is powerful. I should have considered that. I did actually, but I forgot about it. Like I was actually no, I know that sounds stupid, but I was thinking about being confined in a car for some reason, and I don't know why that was the setting. Like we're trapped in this car, we're snowed in or something, and
Think about too.
don't worry, I have a candy bar.
I happen to know because I visited you recently that you're a fan of these like healthy protein bar things that are essentially candy bars, right? Like you're eating
We're
those.
counting that. What about like a Cliff Bar or a Kind
Yeah,
Bar?
I would say that.
Sort of stuff?
I would say that fits. I would say that fits.
Okay.
So,
Well, you might have changed my game. Like I just now can produce a fairly healthy bar.
well, I wouldn't go that far, but yes. I mean,
protein heavy.
healthier than a Snickers.
Yeah, yeah. Or even like just not bad for you, not necessarily healthy, but not bad. Oh man, now I don't know what to do. I'm impressed because I was like, he's not going to be able to convince me, and now you kind of.
Well, think about this too. Worst wingman, which you chose. Like, they say that more beautiful people live happier, or rather, they're received better by people around them. They are more likely to have favors done. They're more likely to succeed in their various endeavors. And that means that the people who are around you will just by 20% do worse in their lives. They'll be less likely to have things go their way, less likely to have people kind of agree with them or have a good first impression of them. Think about this too. You said you're married, so it doesn't really affect you specifically, but it may affect the people around you. But imagine that you're hanging out with another married couple and their marriage is kind of rocky. And when they're with you, they both just kind of see each other's physical flaws. They're just less attracted to each other. And it may be the thing that kind of tips them over into, a big argument or really pushes their relationship into a bad spot. And this is because you're the worst wingman. You can't handle some crows for their sake.
That last point was sort of convincing. Not the beauty thing, fine, but they can deal with. They're not gonna have worse lives because they hung out with me and got theoretically treated. I think there's some cultural wisdom to the beautiful people have higher. I think it's the higher self confidence, and they have like affirmation more continually and just over time. But in isolated events, I don't think it's a big deal. However, you did highlight something that I've been recently thinking about. This idea that is okay, what if friendship or all relationships are fundamentally about how, like, after hanging out or after having a discussion, when you walk away, do you feel good about that? I mean, because maybe you're even talking about something interesting, but they just were difficult or unkind or stubborn or not attentive, even though you like the conversation or you like the same things. But if you repeatedly walk away not feeling really great about that interaction or yourself or just the moment, even, I think you can be as vague as that. You just probably won't continue that friendship or continue to nurture it. So
yeah, I think that's true.
And so if that's the truth, then there is a chance that they could pick up on a pattern. When I'm hanging out with Daniel, I don't feel like I'm just, I don't know. It's just like, it's not one of those great nights where everything's coming up for me. Or when I hang out with my partner with Daniel, I just, maybe they pick up on the pattern that it's just not that fun. They're walking away from evenings out with me. Especially if it's like double dates or something, going, that just wasn't as great. And so that could affect the friendship. I'll buy that.
Here's another one that I just thought of. All right, the rule says anyone in your company is perceived by others as 2 points out of 10 less attractive. So if you and Danielle are out somewhere, then Danielle is in your company and she's going to be perceived as less attractive by others. Not by you, you're exempt,
right,
but by others as well, which may affect your
I thought about
decision.
that, and I thought, what? Because I'll be with her a lot, so she's just kind of almost having to accept that a significant portion of her life is 2 points less attractive, and is that
right.
fair? and maybe that's just like out of being a jerk. I don't care if the world perceives her 2 points less attractive. I don't, but I care, or I imagine she would care. So I care that she cares. No, I would like, because if you were just gonna say,
that's
Daniel,
fair.
you're
I
2 points less.
understand.
If you were to say you're gonna be 2 points less attractive, I don't need to be like we were saying, but I want to be where I'm at, or I like taking care of myself for reason, like a lot of what I do. I like dressing well. I mean, there's other elements of why I like this technical fabrics and stuff, and I work out to feel good, but I also like, it's confidence boosting stuff that I appreciate. And so you kind of rob me of that, like, because I don't even think you can you make yourself 20% more attractive by dressing really well and working out? Maybe. But let's say I've done that, you're just negating like a lot of hard work. Like, you've negated a lot of what I've put into creams and like, I've just really busted my butt, and you're gonna just take that away, and that seems unfair. So I can imagine like Danielle feeling similarly, like, because like, so and then in turn, like you said, the pattern of going, I'm just not having as fun, people aren't treating, and then she might even have like a pattern of when she's not hanging out with me being received well, and this sort of like,
and it bleeds.
Being with Danielle, I'm slightly, it's just, you could see creating a little bit of divide. Oh man, I'm so impressionable. You make these cases, and now I'm confused.
Yep. Well, the time has come. Make your choice.
The time has come. I'm deciding. Oh gosh, it's really hard. Hold on. I'm taking. You've convinced me. I'm taking the candy out of the belly button.
Yes.
Really, the reason we didn't even talk about the temperature. It's great, and I like that, but it's not like I'm gonna personally. I don't go out in extreme weather by myself frequently enough that would be significant. So that's why, like,
right.
Even though it really is nice to be always comfortable, but like, I'm actually pretty comfortable most of the time. And when I'm uncomfortable, there's probably something to be said for that shared experience. And like, okay, like in your position, you might hike somewhere really like with tough weather, but you're still gonna have to endure the rain or whatever. And part of it is championing the pain of it, for hiking, like championing the physicality of it. So doing it on easy mode robs you a little bit of it. So yeah, I'm taking the candy bar because I had not considered that I could do like just a morning bar, which is essentially my breakfast, and I go through that translates to straight up cash. Like there's $20 for like 18 of those bars. So so I'm taking that.
And the crows.
I'm trying to think of other than it being slightly eerie. I still think we're overemphasizing the ugly thing. Everyone can deal with it. You'll be a little bit uglier, and no one's ever going to mention it, and it's pretty moot. Like, you didn't convince me holistically.
All right. So, but will you take it? Will you take the bargain?
And do I take the bargain? Yes, I think I do. Yeah.
Nice. I
don't take the bargain often.
You don't. You often just walk away.
Yeah, because it's just too risky. But I'm willing to risk it here.
I think
rolling the dice. Yeah. What are you choosing?
I think I would choose air conditioned. That one sounds better to me because I am a baby when it comes to temperature. I like it to be nice and cool all the time. And so with the summer, I hate that. I could also, I live by myself. I could just turn off my heater or air conditioner, essentially. And
that translates to straight money.
Translates to money. And yeah, hiking. Yeah, you're right.
Can you imagine you bring back someone to your place and they're like, why is it 95 degrees in here? What is wrong with you? They're like, I don't know.
Well, I did the Superpowers and Drawbacks one time.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't mind the crows, but
but does the hike?
Yeah, the hiking thing. I don't.
95 degrees with
some crows around.
Isn't this great? Isn't it worth it?
Hiking. Yeah, you're right. Maybe enduring the elements is a little part of it, but not really. I would rather be really comfortable, and actually that would make it so I could hike even when it's a little too hot or a little too cold, and I could still do it and be
I was just
comfortable.
What and maybe we followed up later with your story and your hiking story, but like part of the all of that story was the physicality and you being so exhausted that you just sat down in the hail and there was nowhere to go. And that is because you had to experience that physically. I think that just makes it more memorable.
That's true.
I don't know but like whatever. I get that I might be overstating.
But this wouldn't help that much. I would still be exhausted from that hike. It was a comfortable temperature, right? It was a comfortable temperature most of the time. It was in the 60s and 70s. It was colder by the time I made it to the top. Yeah. But like it was comfortable temperature.
Weird is if you're having it's a very, very, very cold day, you're going hiking and then you step and water gets in your boot and it's like almost freezing. So you'd have this weird juxtaposition of like just your foot is pretty like dangerously cold. You know?
Well, I was also thinking like, if I don't use my air conditioner or my heater in my apartment, air conditioner mainly, and I get in bed at night, okay, well, part of my body is against my mattress, which is at 90 degrees or whatever, and then the rest of me feels nice and comfortable. So it's just gonna be strange.
Conversely, like you step in that icy, your feet are dangerously cold. You strip your sock off, you dry it off with a trusty towel that you brought, and
then I'm good.
And then you're fine.
Then I set my air barrier temperature to really pretty high and warm up.
Can you control it for your leg now?
No,
it's going to be like okay.
No, it's not. That's too powerful. That's level 3 or 4 at least. So I choose air conditioned, and I think I choose a worse wingman as well. I'm not around.
I thought you might.
I'm not around people I don't have people in my company that often. Maybe it's short-sighted of me to just pick it, without thinking of the future. But I kind of agree with your summation. Like, just get over it for a little while. Like, maybe you're a little uglier to some people, but it just seems like a relatively minor thing. The crows are pretty minor too. I could deal with that. But I think the worst wingman is.
I can conceptualize the slightly uglier, probably more accurately than I can the crows. I think you're right. It's nothing, but I think I might just be in a bad mood one day, and that crow happens to. It all like comes together, and it can be a pretty frustrating moment, or like I want to kill some crows, or like I lose it, or like they stare at me in a way that it just sets me off because I have to deal with them on my watching me watch a movie. It's like I'm so sick of them.
I think it's like. I think I would just acclimate to it really quick. So, like in the South, in the summer, there's the cicadas out. They're always freaking making noise out there, but you just don't hear them. But they're always around, and that could easily. What if I said, "Oh, here's a drawback. It's called like bug noises or something more creative than that." And every evening for half the year, there's this really loud ring, 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 ring bugs that are just you can hear them through your walls, and you would go, "I'm never picking that. That's so annoying." Yeah, but that's the truth. That's what it's really like.
Yeah, that's what living in the South is. You can hear it in your home.
Right. Same thing for like squirrels are around all the time, running around outside. They're not watching you necessarily, but they're always out there. And it would be
the way you said that, but they're always out there.
It would be kind of like that.
Dang, man, I'm scared of squirrels now.
So, yeah. Anyway,
what are they up to?
Those are my choices. That's what I go with, and I think I would take it. Air conditioned is a big boon for me because, like I said, I'm kind of a baby when it comes to setting the temperature, so it would be really convenient.
Do you think you're selling your future girlfriend or wife short, or are you like me, like, it's just not gonna be that significant?
No, I mean that's a legitimate point, and if you press me on it, then I might change to the crows. I might change to Murder Watch, but. In the moment right now, nah.
Yeah.
The thing is, the crows, it's easy to imagine, at least for me, it sounds like different than you. It's easy for me to imagine the worst that's going to be. The worst that's going to be is that, I'm bringing the groceries in and I leave the door open and the crow flies in and it's like, okay, now I have a crow in my house and I got to get it out somehow or not. Somehow, I got to shoo it out. And that's annoying for that to happen pretty rarely.
Are you noticed in public? Are people going to see? Oh, they're looking at this guy, or are they just around near?
Maybe.
Near, maybe.
Seems
like you're almost like the pod piper. That doesn't sound right.
I think that's right. I think that's the pod.
It's not
pod.
Appalled. P-A-U-D.
Appalled.
The appalled
piper.
He's really appalled by all the crows.
Yeah.
He's walking around and they're all kind of ambling along behind him.
You know, I could embrace it. I could become Crow Man. You know.
Crow Man, the crow. Yeah.
And I would be called Crow Magnum Man. Something like that, and I could be a supervillain or something. I could have crows that always come to me and perch on my shoulders and arms and stuff.
We cannot make this a punchy segment, can we?
Nope.
We're just gonna talk about like so funny.
Yeah, we aim for 20 minutes and 35.
Yeah, we aim for 20. We go 35, and this was the shortened, punchiest version.
Let's call it.
I think they usually go for 45.
We're calling it. Superpowers and Drawbacks. Done.
Boom.
All right. So, I do have another little minor topic that I just wanted to ask you about hunting. Yeah. What do you think about hunting? Have you ever gone hunting before?
Oh man, I don't think I've ever gone hunting. I've shot a gun. I've been in the woods with paintball guns.
That's not hunting.
I know. I'm just thinking like tangential things of like wearing camo, and I've fished. I've gone fishing. I've never hunted. I'm surprised I can't remember. It seems like it's a clear answer, but I don't want to mess that up and say, oh, you know what, I did go, but I just never fired my gun or something like that. But I don't think I've ever gone hunting.
Yeah, I have gone hunting, but not very much. You know, I don't know if you have the same impression, but growing up in the South like we did, hunting was a pretty big thing. And, you know, we had friends that went hunting a lot, have family members that went hunting a lot and still do go hunting fairly often. And so it was a thing I heard about and knew about, but didn't do that often. And I did go deer hunting once with an uncle, and it was really boring. And I hated it. I played Pokemon the whole time. That was in seventh grade, by the way. And I went dove hunting with my dad a handful of times, again when I was pretty young, and it was okay. I didn't shoot. I think I shot the gun once or twice, but mostly I was just going to pick up the birds. And it was okay, and then fishing, which fishing I guess isn't really hunting, but that's really the extent of it.
It's not hunting and fishing. Like you have to just be. It'd be weird to say we're going hunting and then I hand you a rod. You know.
Yeah.
It's the same point I say like I got cookies and I hand you an Oreo. It's the same. Like what? No, I mean technically I guess we're hunting fish, but no, we're fishing.
Well, the reason I bring up the topic is that since we kind of grew up in an area where hunting was commonplace, family members do it and everything. Are we weird? Like, is hunting a pretty uncommon thing generally, or is it more common than not? And like in our modern society where we can get any food we want at the grocery store and we have agriculture and all of that, where does hunting fit in?
Yeah, now it seems to definitely be relegated to sport or hobby more than necessity. But I think it taps into some sort of something primitive that was previously necessary. So therefore, it's like in the hunter and gatherer world, it's a manly thing, and there is a part of me that I think culturally hunting is manly, and it was a rite of passage almost, one that I didn't go on, and there's a little bit of shame like, am I really a southerner? Would I lose my southerner card since I haven't been hunting? And the fact that it was so normal that it like is weird, I suspect. I think it's just I think it is southern, and it's not just southern, right? There are hunters all over. But I do think it's kind of cultural, and it's a smaller culture. I mean, if you saw a map of where people hunt, it'd be the whole map probably,
the whole country.
And but like these are like how many hunters are there per like the like just there just are less hunters than there are non-hunters for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be like widely, that gap would be huge. Whereas if you'd have asked young Daniel without kind of a knowledge of the world, I would have been like, well, most people hunt. Like that was kind of my attitude. Most people hunt. That's just how life is. And now I recognize that very few people hunt. I'm also like, I guess we can get into the morality, or like, did you feel any sort of way?
That was my next question is.
But I don't know if that's jumping to it, but I think that's fine.
Whether hunting is morally acceptable.
I tend to say yes, you know. I mean, there's a few levels of it. There's something a little. I don't shoot, like if I see a worm, well, it depends on the level. Like I'm just saying killing animals and then killing bugs and stuff. If I'm on the sidewalk and there's an earthworm on it, like Danielle's going to pick the earthworm up and put it in the grass. I'm probably going to step over it. I'm certainly not going to just stomp on it and
put it out of its misery.
Grin with delight. I mean, if it's dying, maybe you could make that case. That's a moral killing, I suppose. But I'm not going to be like the you imagine like the middle school boy who does that. I would say that if you have that attitude.
What if it was a cockroach on the sidewalk walking outside?
I wouldn't bother, but I'm not making a moral decision. I just don't like the crunch and all of that. Now it's just a selfish. So if someone were to stomp on it, I would think something. If I were walking with you and you went, man, you did that to a worm, I'd be like, Bennett, why'd you do that? Yeah. But if you did that to a cockroach, I might not even say it, but I probably would say it. Like, Bennett, you're not in 7th grade. Why are you like stomping on this earthworm? Versus cockroach, I would think I'd be like, I would probably talk to you about, did you feel the crunch? How grossed out are you? Like, I'd be more interested in that. In the same way that I'll kill spiders and cockroaches in my house, but and a worm I might too, but that just doesn't happen as much.
All right, so what you're saying is that there are some moral tiers of acceptability when it comes to humans killing other creatures.
I think so, or at least ones that I'm okay with. And I think
so.
I do want to take the position though that I would like needless killing of animals. Like, yeah, I tend to be against. Or when I say needless, I guess that gets into the debate
right. So, all right, what about deer hunting? Right. So a deer is certainly more developed and I guess worthy of some kind of empathy than either an earthworm or a cockroach, right? You would say that.
So and they can be overpopulated, and without some hunting, it can be out of control, and they're out in front of cars and killing people and all of this. So I certainly don't have a moral issue with hunting existing, but I'm also not going to mock the person that, you know, the classic story, they look through the scope and they look at the deer and they look through the scope and they look at the deer like with their own eyes, and then they decide, I can't do this. Right. I don't actually, I mean, I can scoff telling the story or chuckle or whatever, it sounds silly, but like I actually think that's not mock worthy, and it's probably like something good going on with them wrestling with that. And even if I go, like I don't care if it lives or dies personally, and I don't think pulling the trigger is immoral, I like that. I think it's not bad that they're struggling morally. Like for some reason they saw something in this animal of worth, and then they made like a decision not to pull the trigger. And I genuinely respect it. I don't mean I respect your differences, but I think it's dumb. I actually kind of like it. I kind of like that moment. Does that make any sense to you?
No, yeah, sure. I mean, I agree with you that everyone should have a respect for life, for other creatures. Now, obviously, that fits in a broader context. Like you mentioned, population control is a big thing, right, with deer and some other game animals. So you could make the case that even if you have some resistance to taking the life of some animal, the moral thing to do is to pull the trigger. Because if you don't, then there's harm that's going to be caused. You could make that argument. Yeah. But yeah, I think I tend to agree with your situation with respect to that particular case.
What about seeing on your own Facebook, you scroll and you see like like a guy in a camo jacket grinning as he's holding the antlers and the dead lifeless deer, and it's a fairly, let's just for the sake of this, a fairly gory pic. Like like there's blood and like all of this.
Well, yeah, this is again, you're predicting the flow of what I was thinking, because like one reason why this actually came to my mind is because I'm on these stupid dating apps, and pretty often where I live, hunting is really big, and pretty often I see a girl's profile and her picture is her with the deer, bloody old deer with his tongue gagging out or whatever.
You keep looking at her other pictures, she's got like at a baseball game too, like really like hamming it up for the men. Like, I like sports and hunting.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
The next picture's beer. Anyway,
that's very common. I could complain about that plenty, but I won't. I'll spare you. But the hunting picture, it's there. I see that. And
how do you react to it?
Well, honestly, I'm pretty indifferent to that. I don't. It doesn't really faze me one way or the other. I don't get annoyed by it, and I don't think that it's super hot or anything. I in the back of my mind, I kind of think, well, I'm not a hunter, so it might be a little weird.
She might subscribe to some other cultural norms that I might agree with, or I appreciate Southern culture, and she might
maybe. I don't think about it that much. It's not. It doesn't influence my decision one way or the other. It's more like,
can I see her face accurately?
Yeah, that's my assessment.
Because they have a big camo hat or something and a big jacket. It's like, dang it, this picture is not that valuable.
Right. That is definitely true. But I think that I'm unusual, and most people would have a stronger reaction to those kind of pictures. They would either go, "Oh, this is my kind of person," or "Oh, this is a morally reprehensible animal killer person." I think it's more polarizing, and I don't find it polarizing for some reason.
It is what's not politicized these days, and so that's a clear, like, hunting has been politicized, and you're kind of just not, like, for some reason that hasn't captivated you. If it's a gory picture with the deer and the blood, it will make me feel slightly negative. Like, again, I'm like, okay, I'm generally speaking morally okay with hunting, but there is something visceral, and I guess if they're evoking that, and you see the flesh and the blood viscera and stuff, it just is like, you like that? And that's me being judgy in a way that, because I don't understand or haven't been a part of that and done that. But I also think, I feel like it's like we're seeing something violent, and I try to be attuned to, like, violence should affect us, but hunters are doing something violent, and so that becomes the norm. So I just, if I hunted, I think I'd try to be careful and be very clear, like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm saying. Like it's just that you are toying with violence and saying, this is completely normal. And the world is violent, by the way. Like, violence is normal, but I like that we are civilized and trying to deter violence in general, especially human to human. And I just don't want to commit hapless violence.
Given that, is there any distinction between bow hunting and hunting with a gun?
None to me. I mean, at least if you're asking my opinion, no. I don't know what even people think of it, but, like, I guess the wound would be less violent. Right, but like, violence is or I should say less gory.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm, like I said, I'm not a hunter, so I'm not an expert, but if you shoot a deer with a gun, assuming it's a good shot, then it's pretty much dead. But if you shoot a deer with a bow, then that may not be the case. Right?
Is that true, though? Or, like, bows pretty badass and they're, like, crazy?
I think they are pretty badass, but, like, it's not a bullet, and
you're right.
You have to, I guess, pierce the heart or some other vital organ, and then they bleed out, and you follow the blood trail. I'm thinking back to a deer hunting game I played in, like, 2nd or 3rd grade video game.
I hesitate to use the word humane, but it seems less humane. Like, don't you want to use the item that is the most effective, right, in order to less suffering?
I mean, it depends on which which perspective you're looking at it from. Like, yeah, there's that perspective that we just outlined. Maybe the bow, you're more likely to injure the deer instead of kill it, and in which case it might be considered less humane. But you talked about earlier how hunting kind of connects us to our primitive state, our hunter-gatherer
Yeah.
roots. And a bow is definitely more primitive and connected to our hunter-gatherer roots than a rifle, like a night
Yeah.
vision scope where you can just sit from hundreds of yards away and snipe a deer. Like, the deer didn't have a
Also,
chance.
Right. So hunter, that chance part might be important too. That a hunter gatherer, if that's the natural state, I mean, even bows aren't natural, but like there is a chance for you have to be skilled, more skilled with a bow, and I think that's safe to say, right? You definitely just have to be more skilled with a bow than a gun. Is that fair?
I think so. I mean,
Let's assume that for a second. Like,
Okay.
so it requires more skill, and the deer has a fighting chance, meaning like there is some give and take. Whereas a gun, now we have lopsided. Like, I don't know, they didn't get to respond. I don't know.
The
I'm
fairest
just saying-
thing, the fairest thing would be to give the deer a bow or a gun, right, and have it be a duel.
That is
Then
the
it would be the
fairest thing.
then it would be
Or
the
you
most moral.
just hunt with your hands and to go punch the
Yeah, you
deer.
just tackle the deer.
Or you get antlers too, and it gets hands or something. I don't know. Just really good. Equality matters. Like, equality hunting.
Yeah, right.
Very weird. But my knee jerk was to tell you no, that like if you're hunting to kill, the big picture morality, that was all. That's what I meant by saying no in my mind. I meant that like, I mean, you could choose a hammer, throw some axes for all I care, but you are saying like it's just complicated, I guess, about like hacking something up, choking it, stomping on it versus pulling a trigger. It's or it just is interesting.
Do you think that children should be allowed to hunt?
Man, I guess I feel complicated about that too. Is that like, well, I do think that they could be trained to use a gun responsibly, like at probably surprisingly young ages, if they are demonstrating that maturity. And I bet there's some literature about how to do that wisely. So I'm not immediately like never teach a kid to responsibly use a gun. I'm actually more probably the opposite of going, well, I mean, if they're demonstrating themselves to be mature and this is so and then I guess I'm just but where it can get gray area for me is like, did they ever, like, if they're just raised to hunt, like, listen, you want to be a man, you got to be like your dad and hunt, and like, and then they just are from a very, these are just strong explicit signals about. And so is there any, you're just like, if David gets his kid to watch a football game, like, that doesn't seem as strong as saying, hey, you're going to come out with guns and shoot animals. Like am I making, I'm probably not making much sense, but like getting a kid to cheer for a sports team and conditioning them, it seems like no harm, no foul kind of thing. If there's a gray area with hunting and that kids are super impressionable, I feel a little more uncomfortable with it. Yeah. But it's because I'm unsettled about how I feel about hunting.
Sure, right.
It makes me feel a little more heightened when it comes to kids who are susceptible. That's really what I'm saying.
To me, it seems like if there's no moral problem with hunting, which in my estimation, I don't really have any issue with hunting. I think it's fine. As long as you're not hunting something to extinction or being disrespectful about it.
Right.
Then I think it's okay. And so if that's the case, then I think it's probably overall a positive, maybe even a large positive for children to be allowed to hunt, especially to be taught to hunt. Like you said, it teaches them what guns are capable of. So it gives them an appreciation for the power of what a gun can do. They can see that, oh, this is a dangerous thing that kills animals. So it gives them more respect for the technology. It probably also gives them a sense of responsibility and discipline, because you have to take certain steps in order to be successful at hunting. And it's, obviously it's a bonding opportunity for, a kid and usually their father, or maybe the mother for some of the girls around here. I don't know.
And not to mention, like, we are in such a fast-paced society. How often are you focusing in woods for hours,
right,
and getting up early to do it? All of that discipline aspect is great, and the antithesis of, like, immediate gratification culture and
sure,
fast techie stuff. So I really like that aspect of it. And all of the responsibility that goes along with it. Not to mention some primitive, you can take care fundamentally, like get yourself a gun, and like you're more likely to survive. Like a 6-year-old who's been hunting for a couple of years might survive on their own better than I could, like in a post-apocalyptic era which we're handed a gun, and that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to use some intellect about how, like, be still, pick a good spot, that sort of thing. So maybe I would be better, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit to think of any downsides to allowing kids to hunt, except for there's the potential for negligence or danger, right? The kids are more prone to make mistakes. And
mistakes are very costly in hunting, I'm imagining. Like, mistakes are bad. You forget to put it on safety on.
Right.
Like, that seems just like stuff that when you're really young, I couldn't remember to bring my books home from school literally a quarter of the time, like all the time. And we'd have to go back to the school. And this is 7th grade and stuff. So, like, even if you understand and revere the gun, you just might forget to put the safety on. And, like, not that just that alone makes you might be responsible otherwise, but like that just, oh man, you've done something scary then. So there is like something to be considered where they're at cognitively. But if you're settled morally on hunting, and you are more than I am, then I see the extension to kids being not a stretch at all. Once you're settled morally on it, I guess mine is, do I give any pause about like the inherent violence? Like, you can argue that it's good. They need to know that the world is violent, and this might be one of the very intentional, safe way to do so. But also, you could say I am knowingly normalizing, like, blood and guts in a way that I'm not so certain I want to just jump into at such a young age.
Do you think?
I think that's reasonable.
Do you think that hunting is more or less moral than raising cattle to eventually slaughter and get beef out of? Is there any distinction between those two?
It's an interesting question.
Because my thought is, what I would assume is that if you were going to draw those moral lines, then hunting would be more moral, right? Because it's the individual hunting for what they, need, rather than this corporate, big, factory farm kind of situation where the people eating the meat never see the animal, and there's this disconnect and so on. Like that's what I imagine people would have greater qualms with that. But we definitely live in a world where that exists, and in that world, the hunting seems to pale in comparison, right?
Now, you've made an interesting case that I can buy into, that like we need you. If I'm going to allow you to eat cow or deer meat at some time, like maybe it's good that you go see what's like, and if it bothers you, we're doing it in a arguably more humane way. Like, we just killed a deer for the meat, and we're actually going to eat it. We're not just like laughing at it as it, or something, this isn't just to hang on a wall, or it's not a trophy. Like, we're going to eat the meat. I've probably, so I think like subconsciously I was a slight negative on it, just unchecked when I see like guts or something on. Well, also it's just like some old high school people that I went to high school with and didn't think too highly of, and like and then they're the ones doing it, and so I'm like, they don't look like they've read a book in a while, and I'm being an a-hole for even, but like it's just like
there are
and so then I see the
associations,
violence, and I know, and that's not even true. That's not fair.
Well, I mean,
but
like I have those same kinds of people, that were hunters, and I thought they were stupid and whatever. But I also have people that I respect, family members and stuff who are hunters too. So
Right.
so it was a break even to me. It wasn't. I didn't associate hunting with your moral character or whether you were a good person or a bad person or whatever. It was just kind of a neutral thing.
And maybe that's my slight negative, might just be some subconscious. The ones I see on Facebook are the ones that I kind of thought that way about, and therefore that's why I slightly lean negative, even though my more conceptual understanding is neutral to positive. And after this discussion, I think lean like much more positive. In the same way, I like the idea of living off the fat of the land and
Yeah.
tilling a garden,
Yeah.
and whatever, and learning to hunt a little. Even though I don't want to really go hunt, like it just doesn't sound appealing. Let's get up early in the morning, and I mean, actually sitting in the woods quietly and deliberately doesn't sound that bad. But I just think I could be that person that comes to the moment of pulling the trigger, and I don't like holding guns. The power of them in my hands is just like, it's so weird. These like, I mean, maybe I have too much reverence for it, but I just don't like holding it. So on a personal level, I don't.
How much
like
experience
it,
do you have shooting guns?
Like less than 5 times.
Yeah.
But more than 3.
You would probably
so 4.
yeah you would probably overcome that discomfort, with more experience.
I definitely think I would. And then the question is, do I want to? I mean, maybe. I'm not closed off to that idea. It just doesn't. It's not in my like top 20 things I want to do, but it's also not like I'm resistant. So it just ends up being something I don't devote much time or energy to.
I don't have too much desire to go learn to hunt or to start hunting either. But I will tell you, I enjoy shooting. I do like that. I've always liked, even when we used to play paintball in middle and high school, I like being able to accurately place a thing far away. Like I really like that. So, hunting, I could take it or leave it, but like target shooting or something, that does actually appeal to me a bit.
How often or how many times would you estimate you've shot a gun?
Pretty few. I mean, similar to you. Probably less than a dozen times. So not much.
Would you go to a range?
Yes, I would. I've considered doing that, and I actually, there have been a couple weekends where I've been like, oh, maybe I should do that this weekend, and then just something else came up.
Yeah. Well, let's get some guns and shoot a bunch.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And hunt. Get a pistol and hunt some deer.
Yeah, man. Go pistol hunting.
Why is that? I know it's so silly to say, like hilarious, but this will reveal my ignorance. Obviously, a rifle is going to be more accurate for long shooting, but like, it just doesn't seem like a pistol will be that dumb, like to go hunting with. But apparently, I guess it just totally is.
Yeah, I mean, it's the range thing. You just have a lot more range and accuracy with a rifle, and you can't get close to a deer without it sensing you and running away, right?
Yeah.
So the pistol would not be
Fair
good
enough.
for that.
The answer is what I thought it was, and it's just clear. I guess I'm just underestimating or how the significance.
I mean,
of the
I'm sure
gap.
too the ammunition that you use is different, right? With a rifle, you could use shotgun. Would give you buckshot, for example, and a rifle could give you a larger caliber round, whereas a pistol, you're kind of limited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully I'm right on that. I'm pretty sure I am, but
That makes sense.
yeah. I have one more question. I'll tack on one more question.
Okay.
What do you think about taxidermy?
Well, I've seen it like mocked in a movie called I forget what it's called, with Steve Carell, and there's a dinner and Paul Rudd invites
The Office.
the idiots to the dinner kind of thing, and Steve Carell does taxidermy.
Minions.
It's not The Office.
Despicable Me.
No, none of that.
Anchorman.
Nope, not 40-Year-Old Virgin either.
The Noah's Ark one.
I think it's something just like dinner party, or I don't know. It's actually a remake. Doesn't matter. It just so taxidermy is always, it's just a little odd, like knowing this is the actual body. But it can also be like really skilled and
If
so
someone gave you a really professional taxidermied thing, would you put it in your home?
It depends. If it was very bizarre and funny, possibly. It had to be pretty high up the funny, bizarre factor to delight me. But if it was just like a good-looking coyote,
a really
like
good-looking,
majestic,
really majestic-looking coyote, perfectly preserved in taxidermy.
I don't like that. I mean, I get why people like it. I just am like, no, no. Something about that just like it's weirdly laughable to me. Whereas if it was a squirrel, like
what
on
about
a
a duck?
surfboard,
What about a duck,
something.
like mid-flight, wings extended,
Oh,
beautiful
weird.
plumage?
See, if that's hanging in a Bass Pro Shop, I'm kind of going, well done, man. That's cool, and I like that they actually went through and got real like taxidermied animals. I like that. But you put that in like someone's basement and like or their room of taxidermied animals, and I'm like, you have some different tastes than I do, like significantly. You probably have cheap paneled wooden walls, like I don't know why, but there has to be like along with it.
Do you think people should taxidermy their pets?
I think people do that, and there's a market for it, and I don't think they should. That's where I'll get a little judgy. The other one is just like it's different, and I am being slightly judgy, but going, it's a little weird. But I honestly do respect the craft, or at least from afar I do.
I
Like,
think
man,
I would
that's
rather
hard work,
have
and it can be,
I would rather have a taxidermied pet than a live pet. So
yeah, well, yeah,
that
but
just makes
imagine
it
like
a lot easier to take care of.
if like Poodle McGee or whatever you've named your animal, like
that would be
like
it.
you have a 16-year life with it, and you're like everyone knows Bennett loves Poodle McGee, and then Poodle McGee dies sadly and just shows up as a stuffed animal, like a taxidermy. Like I think that's just unhealthy. Like let it go. Like you're just so weird. You're just so weird.
But it's a
doing that.
memorial. You can
Whatever.
look at
Say
it
all
and
you
see.
want, man. Like you know it. You know that you're not.
I would
your
just-
relationship with that dog is so unhealthy.
I would
or-
get
or
Poodle
whatever.
McGee and then get Poodle McGee put down and then immediately taxidermied.
Now there's an idea, right?
And then-
now you develop
and-
the relationship
right.
purely on the taxidermy.
Exactly.
and
Now
it's a
there's
little
no
normal.
now there's no moral issues. There's nothing weird about that, right? Because
No, that's the most moral thing to do.
I don't need the the guts and like you said, you don't like the blood and guts and stuff, and that's what I'm getting rid of. I'm getting rid of that, and it's just I don't know what they put in there, cotton or something, and now I have a very lifelike Poodle McGee that I can look at, pet every now and then. I could talk to it. I can be a dog dad or a taxidermy dog
sure,
dad.
Man. I can't take. I'm just shaking my head. Also, poor taxidermy is
Pretty funny.
weird, and it
Pretty
can also
funny.
probably it is funny in a disturbing way.
I just
and then
I want to
imagine
go
it can
ahead.
age badly.
Yeah, I
too.
want to go ahead and notify you that if I ever am in a store, some rural mountain store or something, and there's a bad taxidermy, that I am going to buy that and ship it to you, and it will be yours.
Oh man, I don't know what to say. I don't
Thank
think
you.
I like
You
that.
should say thank you.
I don't know. I don't feel that. I don't feel thankful.
That's the end.
All right. Bye.
Bye.